4 tips on how to easily overcome anxiety and stress after 60 years. Tip number 1. Acknowledge that anxiety is not weakness, but a signal. What is anxiety, really? Anxiety is a natural emotional response to uncertainty, stress, or the sense that something is wrong. It often shows up as restlessness, inner tension, and a persistent feeling that something bad is about to happen. It's not a character flaw or a weakness. Medically and psychologically speaking, anxiety is a signal from your body that you are under emotional or physical pressure. According to the World Health Organization (WHO), anxiety disorders are significantly underdiagnosed in older adults. This is largely because many seniors feel ashamed to talk about their emotional state or believe that feeling anxious is just part of getting older. But anxiety is not something you're supposed to suffer through. It's something you can manage, treat, and recover from. Why anxiety often increases after age 60. As we age, our bodies and brains change in ways that can increase emotional sensitivity. Hormonal shifts, including reduced levels of serotonin and dopamine, affect mood regulation. Cognitive aging can lead to changes in the brain areas responsible for processing fear and risk. Physical decline, such as hearing loss, mobility issues, or chronic illness, can make the world feel more threatening. Life circumstances like bereavement, retirement, reduced social contact, and financial insecurity also contribute. A study published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry found that up to 20% of people over 65 experience clinically significant anxiety, but fewer than 10% receive appropriate care. How anxiety presents in older adults. Anxiety in older people often hides behind physical complaints. You might not feel nervous, but you may experience frequent headaches or muscle pain, digestive issues, sleep disturbances, high blood pressure or heart palpitations, fatigue, and low motivation. These symptoms can be misattributed to aging or other medical conditions, when in fact they are signs of anxiety taking a physical form. Example: Anna, 73, lost her husband 2 years ago. Since then, she began waking up at 3 a.m. feeling panicked. She stopped going out, avoided phone calls, and felt a constant tightness in her chest. After talking with her doctor and starting therapy along with a mild anti-anxiety medication, her sleep improved and she regained her appetite for life. Why acknowledgement is the first and most powerful step. Naming what you feel reduces its power. Denying or minimizing anxiety only makes it worse and prevents you from taking action. Medically, chronic anxiety keeps stress hormones like cortisol elevated, which can suppress the immune system, disrupt sleep, and worsen conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes. Psychologically, when we deny anxiety, we create a second problem: guilt or shame for feeling it. But there's nothing weak or irrational about anxiety. In fact, it's often the result of a lifetime of accumulated stress, loss, responsibility, and health changes. Acknowledging anxiety is not giving up, it's taking back control. It means you're paying attention to your mental health the same way you'd pay attention to joint pain or vision changes. What you can do right now: name the feeling. Say to yourself, "I'm anxious because I'm worried about my health, my family, the future." Just naming it can lessen the intensity. Keep a notebook. Write down what makes you feel tense, what thoughts repeat, and how your body reacts. This will help you recognize patterns. Check in with your body. Are your shoulders tight? Is your breathing shallow? Take a few deep breaths and gently stretch. Be kind to yourself. You're not weak. You're human. You've faced a lot in your life. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed sometimes, and you're also allowed to ask for help. Conclusion: anxiety after 60 is common, understandable, and treatable. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you, it's a signal that something needs care. Don't ignore it, don't be ashamed of it, and don't try to just tough it out. Your emotional well-being matters at every age. And the first step toward peace is simple. Acknowledge what you feel and give yourself permission to get the support you deserve. Tip number 2. Limit your exposure to negative news. Anxiety feeds on information, especially bad information. One of the most overlooked causes of anxiety in older adults is constant exposure to negative news. TV headlines, online articles, social media, radio. Everywhere you look, there's talk of war, disease, crime, disaster, and political turmoil. While staying informed is important, overexposure to negativity can deeply affect mental and physical health, especially in people over 60. What the science says. Research has shown a clear link between news consumption and anxiety. A study published in Health Communication found that people who consume news frequently, particularly crisis-driven or fear-based news, report higher levels of stress, sleep disturbance, and chronic worry. Older adults may be even more sensitive to this effect. With more time spent at home and fewer daily distractions, retirees often watch TV more frequently, sometimes several hours a day. But the brain doesn't just watch news, it absorbs and reacts to it. The amygdala, the part of the brain involved in processing fear, becomes overactivated, sending the body into a low-grade fight or flight state. This can lead to elevated heart rate and blood pressure, muscle tension, digestive problems, irritability and restlessness, worsening of existing anxiety or depression. Real-life example: Victor, 68, retired 3 years ago. He began starting each morning with 2 hours of news and ending the day with the evening report. Over time, he noticed he was becoming more nervous, sleeping poorly, and feeling a sense of dread about the future. His doctor initially suspected high blood pressure, but after talking, it became clear that news overload was fueling his anxiety. By cutting back his viewing to 30 minutes a day and replacing it with walks and music, his mood improved significantly. Understanding the trap: the tricky part is that bad news can be addictive. Psychologists call it doomscrolling, the habit of consuming endless negative content in search of a sense of control. But instead of giving clarity, it increases helplessness and worry. For seniors, this can be especially damaging. If your days are quiet and your routine limited, constant news may become a background companion. But unlike a real person, it offers no comfort, only constant stimulation of fear and uncertainty. What you can do: set strict time limits. Choose one time a day to catch up on the news, ideally not first thing in the morning or right before bed. Aim for no more than 30-60 minutes total per day. Choose your sources wisely. Avoid channels or websites that rely on drama, emotional language, or 24/7 crisis coverage. Opt for calm, factual sources, public broadcasters or print media with balanced reporting. Take news-free days. Try skipping the news entirely once or twice a week. Use that time for a walk, a hobby, or a conversation with someone you trust. Replace background noise. If you're used to keeping the TV on for company, switch to calming alternatives: music, audio books, or nature sounds. Talk about something else. If you and your friends only discuss illnesses, politics, and crime, your anxiety will feed on that. Make a conscious effort to shift topics to memories, family, funny stories, or hobbies. What professionals say: geriatric psychologists agree. Media moderation is mental hygiene. Just as we brush our teeth daily to prevent decay, we need to filter the input we give our minds, especially when we're already dealing with age-related stressors. Also important: recognize the illusion of control. Watching more news does not make you safer or better prepared. It often only increases fear while reducing your ability to act calmly and clearly. Conclusion: you don't need to shut out the world, just protect your peace. News should inform, not exhaust. Anxiety thrives on constant stimulation, and your mind needs space to rest and recover. So, if you're feeling tense or fearful, ask yourself: am I consuming more fear than facts? If the answer is yes, take a step back. Your mental well-being matters more than headlines. Tip number 3. Breathe right and keep moving. When anxiety takes over, the first thing that changes, often without you noticing, is your breathing. Shallow, fast, and tight breathing tells your body, "I'm in danger." It sets off a chain reaction: your heart races, muscles tense, and your mind becomes flooded with worry. The good news is, you can reverse that signal. And you don't need medicine to start, you need movement and breath. The science behind breath and anxiety: your breathing patterns are directly connected to your nervous system. When you breathe fast and shallow, chest breathing, you activate the sympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for fight or flight. When you breathe slowly and deeply, diaphragmatic breathing, you activate the parasympathetic system, which calms the body down. According to a 2017 study in Frontiers in Psychology, controlled breathing, also called paced respiration, significantly reduces anxiety and improves focus. The effects can be felt in just a few minutes. And the best part? Breathing exercises are free, safe, and available anytime, anywhere, even if you're sitting in a chair at home. A simple breathing technique you can use right now. This method is often recommended by therapists and cardiologists alike. Sit comfortably with your back straight. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for 2 seconds, exhale gently through your mouth for a count of 6 or 8, repeat this for 3-5 minutes. You'll notice your heart rate slowing, your thoughts clearing, and your body relaxing. It's like pressing a reset button. Tip: set a daily reminder to practice this breathing even when you're not anxious. It helps train your body to respond more calmly under stress. Movement is medicine. Now let's talk about the second piece of this tip: physical activity. Movement is one of the most powerful and underused tools for managing anxiety in older adults. When you move, your body releases endorphins, natural chemicals that boost mood, reduces muscle tension, which often builds up with anxiety, burns off excess adrenaline, and cortisol, improves sleep, which is often disturbed by anxiety, increases feelings of confidence and capability. Even gentle activities have a big impact. You don't need to run or go to the gym, just consistent, low-impact movement can change your mood and health. Best types of movement for seniors with anxiety: walking 20-30 minutes a day, preferably outside in fresh air. Stretching or yoga helps with both physical relaxation and mental calm. Tai Chi or Qigong, slow, flowing movements that combine breath and balance. Light dancing, even in your living room, it lifts the spirit. Gardening, low stress, grounding, and physically active, make it a ritual. Many older adults say walking each day gives them a sense of routine, purpose, and joy, all things anxiety tries to take away. Real-life example: Elena, 75, began to experience panic-like symptoms during the pandemic. She felt dizzy, breathless, and scared to leave the house. A therapist taught her the 4-6 breathing method, and her daughter encouraged short daily walks, even just around the building. After 2 weeks of combining breathing and walking, her anxiety levels dropped by more than half. She now walks every morning with a neighbor and says, "It saved my mind." If movement is hard for you, you don't need to do much. Even gentle movement in a chair, like lifting your arms or turning your shoulders, helps. The goal is not athletic performance, but breaking the cycle of stillness and stress. Try chair exercises on YouTube: arm circles, shoulder rolls, leg lifts while seated, breathing deeply during all movements, and always move at your own pace. If you have any medical conditions, talk to your doctor about safe options. Conclusion: anxiety doesn't just live in your thoughts, it lives in your body. That means you can help yourself not only by thinking differently, but by breathing and moving differently. So when anxiety creeps in, remember: breathe slowly. Move gently. Pause and let your body lead the way to calm. Even a few minutes a day can make a real difference, and that's something you can start right now. Tip number 4. Don't be afraid to ask for help. One of the most powerful things you can do to fight anxiety after 60 is also the hardest for many people to accept. Ask for help. For generations, you may have been the one others relied on, raising children, taking care of others, managing a household. But when it comes to emotional health, especially later in life, reaching out is not a weakness, it's wisdom. Why asking for help is hard but necessary. Older adults often carry beliefs like, "I should be able to handle this myself. It's selfish to talk about my problems. What's the point? I'm just getting older. It's embarrassing to see a psychologist." These thoughts come from a time when mental health was taboo. But things have changed. Today, anxiety is understood as a common, treatable condition, not a flaw, not a failure. Medical professionals now recognize that mental health is part of total health, especially in aging. The brain is an organ. It changes with age, stress, hormones, and life experiences. And like any organ, it sometimes needs support. The medical side. When anxiety becomes clinical, feeling worried now and then is normal. But when anxiety becomes chronic, lasting for weeks or months, disrupting sleep, mood, appetite, or daily life, it may be time to talk to a doctor. According to the National Institute on Aging, common signs of anxiety disorders in seniors include restlessness or constant worry, fatigue or trouble sleeping, difficulty concentrating, physical symptoms, headaches, muscle pain, rapid heartbeat, avoiding activities or social contact out of fear. These symptoms aren't just aging. They're signals, and treatment can help. Types of help that actually work: primary care physician, family doctor. This is usually the best starting point. Your doctor can rule out medical causes like thyroid issues or medication side effects, offer reassurance, and suggest next steps. They may prescribe gentle medications or refer you to a therapist. Mental health professionals, therapists, psychologists, and counselors help people process worry, fear, and loss. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, in particular, is highly effective for treating anxiety in seniors even after just a few sessions. Support groups, sharing your experience with others who understand, can reduce the feeling of isolation. Many senior centers or local health services offer in-person or online support groups for older adults. Medication, if needed, in some cases, doctors may prescribe low-dose anti-anxiety medications. Modern options are non-addictive, work gradually, and are well tolerated. They're not a crutch, they're a tool to help the brain regulate itself more effectively. Real example: Leonid, 76, started having panic attacks after surgery. He couldn't sleep and avoided leaving the house. His granddaughter convinced him to talk to his doctor. After a few therapy sessions and a short course of medication, he began to feel calmer and more in control. He later said, "It wasn't weakness, it was the best decision I've made for myself in years." But what if I have no one to talk to? Help doesn't have to come only from doctors. Support can mean talking honestly to a friend or neighbor, calling a helpline, writing letters or journal entries to process emotions, reaching out to spiritual leaders or clergy. In many areas, there are free hotlines or senior outreach services available, sometimes even offering home visits or online consultations. If you're not comfortable speaking face-to-face, consider writing your feelings in a letter or message. Sometimes, just the act of expressing what you feel can bring relief and start the healing process. What asking for help actually means: it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you care about yourself. It means you're choosing to live better with less fear, more clarity, and more peace. Asking for help is an act of strength, of courage, and of self-respect. Conclusion: anxiety after 60 is common, but you do not have to face it alone. There are people trained to help, people who want to listen, and people who care. You just have to take that first small step. So, if you've been suffering in silence, remind yourself of this. One conversation can change everything. One question, "Can you help me?" might be the start of real relief. Mental health is health, and you deserve care, too.